Ever scroll through Instagram, see those perfect kitchens, the ones with marble that never get stained?
Yeah.
And you think, man, real estate, that's the ticket.
It's tempting, right?
Oh, totally. But is it really all it's cracked up to be, this whole real estate thing, as a wealth builder? We're diving into that today, going deep on how to actually make money in this world.
And we're not just chasing fantasies here. We found a podcast episode packed with advice from seasoned investors, and they're all about understanding why real estate has this, well, almost legendary status as a long-term investment.
Right. Everyone says it's such a safe bet, but why? Is it really?
Well, they break it down to a few things. First up, appreciation. Basically, you buy something today, and hopefully tomorrow it's worth more. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, like a car. Well,
Yeah.
the opposite of a car.
Exactly. Except with houses, it's usually because more people need a place to live, so demand goes up, often faster than we build new places. That scarcity pushes prices up.
Makes sense. Supply and demand, classic. But the podcast, they stress that appreciation isn't a guarantee.
Oh, absolutely not. It's not about just buying any old property. It's about strategically investing in areas that are primed for growth. You know, think strong job market, good schools, that kind of thing.
Location, location, location. I've heard that somewhere.
Exactly. But it's not just about watching your property's value go up, right? There's also this whole rental income angle.
Oh, right. Having someone else basically pay down your mortgage for you, plus some extra cash in your pocket each month. That's got to be appealing.
You got it. Passive income. That's the dream for many investors. You become a landlord, find good tenants, and in a perfect world, that rent covers all your costs, mortgage, taxes, and leaves you with some profit.
Sounds pretty ideal, but I'm guessing there's a but coming.
Always a but. The podcast really emphasizes being realistic. Being a landlord, it means dealing with vacancies, repairs, maybe even those middle-of-the-night calls when something breaks.
Nothing like a 3 a.m. plumbing emergency to spice things up, right?
Right. It's about carefully looking at the numbers, making sure the potential income is worth those risks and responsibilities.
So, appreciation, rental income. What other perks come with real estate?
One that often gets overlooked, tax benefits.
Taxes, everyone's favorite topic.
Right. But think of it this way. Owning a property comes with certain tax advantages that can save you serious money, like depreciation. You can actually deduct a portion of the property's value from your taxable income every year.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, it's because the IRS recognizes that properties wear down over time.
Huh. So it's like they're accounting for wear and tear, even if you're doing a great job maintaining it.
Exactly. And that can lead to some nice tax savings, especially in those first few years of ownership.
Okay, taxes still make my head spin, but I get it. Huge potential advantage there. What else?
Speaking of advantages, we got to talk about leverage. This is where things get really powerful in the real estate game.
Leverage, that's about using borrowed money to potentially make more money, right? Sounds a little risky.
It can be, but done right, it's a game changer. Instead of buying a small place with cash, you use leverage, like a mortgage, to buy a bigger property. The idea is that this bigger property generates higher returns.
So, bigger risk, potentially bigger reward.
You got it. But we'll get into the potential pitfalls later. For now, let's actually dive into how people are making money in real estate, because it's not all just sitting back and watching those property values climb.
Okay, so we get why real estate is so alluring, but how are people actually making money from it? What are the paths?
The podcast breaks it down into three main methods: flipping, rentals, and then there's REITs.
REITs. But first, flipping.
Ooh.
Seems like the wild west of real estate, all those shows on TV. Is it really that crazy?
It's got its moments, that's for sure. Flipping, it's all about finding those hidden gems, the undervalued properties, often ones that need a bit of love. You fix them up, make them shine, and hopefully sell high.
So you need an eye for potential and I guess a good contractor on speed dial.
Absolutely. Timing's huge too. Got to know what buyers want in that area. And it's not just a quick coat of paint. You got to be strategic with those renovations.
Sounds like you need some cash up front too for those renovations.
You got it. And that's where the podcast really emphasized starting small. They said, beginners especially, better to dip your toes in with smaller properties, ones that need cosmetic work, not a full gut job.
Less risk that way. Don't bet the farm on your first rodeo, right?
Exactly. Now, on to rentals. This is more about that steady income, no constant buying and selling.
Appealing for those of us who like a little stability. But I'm guessing being a landlord isn't always a walk in the park.
It's got its own learning curve, that's for sure. The upside is you own something tangible, that property, and it could appreciate over time. Plus, reliable tenants, that rent can be a nice, steady income stream.
Emphasis on could and can there. There's no guarantee, right?
Right. And as much as people talk about passive income, the podcast was clear. Being a landlord, it's work. You're on the hook for maintenance, finding tenants, and yeah, those lovely middle-of-the-night emergencies.
Nothing screams relaxation like a busted pipe at 3 a.m., am I right?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
But they did emphasize one thing: due diligence.
Yeah.
Before you even think about buying a rental property, research is key.
Research the area, the market, all that.
Everything. Is there even enough demand for rentals there? What are other places going for? And most importantly, what are the expenses like for similar properties?
Taxes, insurance, potential repairs, all that fun stuff.
You got it. Don't just fall in love with a charming fixer-upper because it looks cute.
Could be a charming money pit waiting to happen. So we've got flipping, we've got rentals, and lastly, REITs.
REITs. This is for folks who like the idea of real estate, but maybe don't want to be on call for clogged toilets.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break this one down for me.
So REITs, or real estate investment trusts, they're a way to invest in real estate without actually owning any property.
How does that work?
You're buying shares in companies that own, operate, or finance income-producing real estate.
So instead of buying that apartment building, I could buy shares in the company that owns a whole bunch of them.
Exactly. You're still in the real estate game, but it's more diversified, more hands-off.
Interesting. Sounds almost too easy. There's got to be downside, right? Too good to be true, or usually is, right? So what's the catch with REITs? They can't be all sunshine and rainbows.
Well, nothing's foolproof.
Yeah.
Like any investment tied to the market, they can be affected by, economic downturns. If the real estate market takes a hit, the value of your REIT shares, they could fluctuate.
Makes sense. So a bit of a roller coaster ride then, potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And while many REITs offer dividends, a way to share those rental profits, those aren't guaranteed either.
Okay, so still some risk involved. It's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Not quite. The podcast really hammered home the research aspect. You got to look into a REIT's portfolio, the kind of properties they own, the markets they're in.
Yeah.
Are those markets stable? Are they growing? That kind of thing.
Don't be swayed by the easy button then, basically.
Exactly. Still got to do your homework.
Got it. So we've got these three paths: flipping, rentals, REITs. Each with its own flavor, I guess. But no matter which one speaks to you, the podcast had some universal strategies for finding success in real estate. What were those?
They emphasize 4 key things. Market research, and we talked about that a lot. Starting small, which we touched on too. Assembling your A-team, basically having the right people in your corner. And then there's leveraging other people's money.
Okay, that last one, that's intriguing. Leveraging other people's money. So basically, finding investors for your real estate ventures.
That's the gist, yeah. It's about amplifying your buying power. Remember we talked about leverage earlier, using things like mortgages. This is like that, but next level. The podcast talked about partnerships, pooling resources with others to take on bigger investments.
So more brain power, more money on the table, but also potentially more cooks in the kitchen.
Exactly, and that can be tricky. They stress that while OPM, other people's money, can really help you grow, you got to be careful. You're bringing in partners, so transparency, communication, a shared vision, that's all crucial.
It's a people business, even when it's about houses and buildings and all that. Makes sense. Now, can't talk about the good without the bad. What about the pitfalls? What trips people up in the real estate world?
Oh, for sure. This podcast, they dedicated a whole section to the common traps investors fall into. The big 3. Over-leveraging, skipping due diligence, and this one gets everyone at some point, underestimating costs.
Over-leveraging, that sounds self-explanatory, like taking on too much debt.
Yep. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, a hot market, a deal that seems too good to pass up. But real estate, it's cyclical. Markets go up, they go down, interest rates rise. If you overextend yourself, can't make those debt payments when things get tough, well, you're in trouble.
So don't get swept up in the hype, basically.
Exactly. Stay grounded, stay realistic, even when it feels like everyone's making money hand over fist.
Solid advice. What about due diligence? What does that look like in real estate, and why is it so important?
Due diligence. It's all about really investigating before you commit. Getting that inspection, digging into the contract, understanding what you're getting into. This podcast, they shared stories of investors who skipped this step, blinded by a good deal, only to find hidden problems later.
Oh, I bet. Water damage, structural issues, those things can be nightmares.
And costly to fix. So yeah, due diligence, non-negotiable.
Got it. Do your homework. And finally, underestimating costs. What tends to trip people up there?
It's easy to fixate on the purchase price or the potential rent you'll collect, but there's always more. Those hidden costs, they pop up.
Property taxes, that surprise assessment for the new roof, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Stuff breaks, plans change. This podcast, they were big on having a cushion, a financial buffer for those unexpected expenses.
Expect the unexpected, as they say. So we've covered a lot of ground here. The good, the bad, the exciting, the scary. What are we walking away with? What's the key takeaway from all this?
For me, it's that real estate, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. There's no single path to riches, no magic formula. It's about figuring out what aligns with you, your goals, your risk tolerance, your lifestyle. Flipping, rentals, REITs, they all have their place. But knowledge is power.
I like that. Knowledge is power. Do your research, make a plan, and don't be afraid to ask for help along the way, right?
Absolutely. And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Building wealth through real estate, it takes time, it takes work, but it can be incredibly rewarding.
Well said. To all our listeners out there, whether you're just starting to explore the world of real estate or you're a seasoned investor, keep learning, keep growing, and who knows, maybe that dream property or that perfect investment portfolio is closer than you think. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.